Viktor Frankl arrived at Auschwitz in 1942 carrying the manuscript of his life's work hidden in the lining of his coat. The Nazis took it on the first day. They took everything else too: his clothes, his wedding ring, his name. They gave him a number and a uniform and put him to work in conditions designed to reduce a human being to nothing more than a body that either kept moving or stopped. What they could not take, and what the entirety of man's search for meaning is an attempt to explain, was the one freedom that remains when every other freedom has been stripped away, the freedom to choose how you respond to what is happening to you. Frankl was a psychiatrist before the war, and he entered the camps with a clinician's eye even as he suffered alongside everyone else. He watched men die not from the cold or the hunger or the brutality alone, but from the loss of meaning, from the moment they stopped being able to answer the question of why they were enduring. And he watched other men, in conditions of identical horror, find reserves of dignity, compassion, and even humor that seemed to belong to a different species entirely. The difference, he concluded, was not circumstance. It was meaning. The men who survived, not merely physically, but spiritually intact, were the ones who had something to live for. A person to return to. The most dangerous idea Frankl dismantles is the one most people carry without examining it: that meaning is something you discover, something that arrives when conditions are right, something the world hands you when you have set up your life correctly. Frankl watched that idea die in the camps. The men who were waiting for meaning to appear, waiting for circumstances to improve before they could find a reason to keep going, did not survive the wait. The actionable demand this places on your life is both simple and difficult. Stop waiting. Whatever your current circumstances, whether they are genuinely hard or simply uninspiring, ask yourself what meaning you are choosing to assign to them right now. Not what meaning they deserve. Not what meaning you will assign when things improve. What meaning are you choosing today, with what you have, in the situation you are actually in? This is not positive thinking. It is not the denial of difficulty. It is the recognition that the author of your experience is you, not your circumstances, and that the pen has always been in your hand even when it felt like someone else was writing the story. Sun Tzu's most radical idea is also his most counterintuitive: the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. In a culture that glorifies confrontation, that celebrates the person who speaks the loudest, hits hardest, and refuses to back down, this sounds like weakness. It is the opposite. Sun Tzu is describing the highest form of strategic intelligence, the ability to achieve your desired outcome while expending the least possible resources, avoiding unnecessary damage, and preserving your position for what comes next. Think about how much energy you have burned fighting battles that did not need to be fought. The argument you had to win even when winning cost you the relationship. The aggressive email you sent in frustration that closed a door you needed to stay open. The defensive reaction in a meeting that shifted the room's perception of you in ways that took months to repair. Every unnecessary fight you enter is a drain on your time, your reputation, your emotional reserves, and your strategy. The discipline to not fight is not passivity. It requires more self-control than throwing a punch. It means developing the patience to wait for conditions to favor you, the composure to let others exhaust themselves in conflict while you remain positioned, and the intelligence to recognize when the outcome you want can be achieved through positioning, timing, or simply letting events unfold rather than forcing them. In practice, this looks like choosing silence over a reactive reply. It looks like letting someone believe they won a small argument while you quietly move toward the larger objective. It looks like building so much quiet leverage, through skill, reputation, and preparation, that confrontation becomes unnecessary because your position is already unassailable. Start small. The next time you feel the pull to argue, to react, to defend, ask yourself one question: what do I actually want from this situation, and does this response get me closer to it or further from it? That single pause, practiced consistently, begins to rewire how you engage with conflict entirely. Frankl quotes Nietzsche throughout the book, but one line above all others runs like a spine through his entire argument: he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. He watched this principle operate in the camps with a consistency that went beyond anecdote into something approaching law. The men who had a clear and specific reason to survive, a child waiting for them, a work they believed only they could complete, a person they had promised to return to, bore suffering that objectively broke others. The why did not change the conditions. It changed what the conditions could do to the person enduring them. This is one of the most practically useful ideas in the entire book because it reframes the way most people think about motivation and resilience. We tend to focus relentlessly on the how, the strategies, the systems, the methods. The practical work here is to examine the clarity of your own why. Not the surface-level version, not the answer you would give in a job interview or post in a caption, but the real answer, the one that would still be true at 2 in the morning when nothing is working and the effort required seems disproportionate to any reward in sight. What are you actually building? Who are you building it for? What would be lost if you stopped? If you cannot answer those questions with specificity and conviction, then the work is not to find better strategies. The work is to find the answer. Everything else depends on it. One of the most quietly radical ideas in man's search for meaning comes near the end of the book, when Frankl turns from memoir to theory and begins laying out the foundations of logotherapy. He argues that what human beings fundamentally need is not equilibrium, not the absence of tension, not the smooth, frictionless state that most modern self-help promises as its destination. What human beings need, he writes, is the tension between what they currently are and what they are capable of becoming. Between the reality of who they are today and the vision of who they could be. That gap, that productive tension, is not the obstacle to a meaningful life. It is the engine of one. This inverts almost everything the wellness industry tells you. We are sold the idea that the goal is to arrive at. What this means practically is that you should stop treating your restlessness as a symptom to be cured. The dissatisfaction you feel with where you are, the sense that you are capable of more than your current circumstances reflect, the persistent pull toward something you have not yet built, these are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are signs that something is right with you. They are the tension Frankl is describing. The question is not how to eliminate that tension but how to direct it, toward work that matters, toward growth that is real, toward a version of yourself that you are genuinely trying to become rather than one you are merely performing. Feed the tension. Follow where it points. That is not a path to restlessness. That is the path to a life that actually means something. Frankl rebuilt his life after the camps. He remarried. He lectured. He developed logotherapy into one of the most influential schools of psychotherapy of the 20th century. He lived to 92. In the decades after the war, He was asked many times how he had survived, not just physically, but with his humanity intact, with his capacity for love and humor and intellectual curiosity undamaged by everything that had been done to him. His answer was always a variation of the same thing: he had never stopped choosing what his experience meant. That is the entirety of the book, distilled. Not that suffering is good. Not that tragedy is secretly a gift. Not that the world is fair, or that meaning is easy to find, or that the right attitude makes pain disappear. Simply that the last human freedom, the freedom to choose your response, to assign meaning, to decide what posture you will take toward what you cannot control, is always available. Even in Auschwitz. Which means it is available to you. The question Frankl